cha apyam sattva samsuddhir jnana yoga vyavastita dhanadamascha yagnascha swadhyayastap arjavam ahimsa satya akrodas tyagasante arpishana daya bhuteshu aloluktvam madhvam hir achal Tejashamadirti socham adhyovanati manta bhavanti sampadam devim abhijatya bharata.
Sorry, can I request everybody else to please mute so that we don't get any background sounds, and only the two people who are reciting can unmute yourselves? Should I just unmute everybody, and Rajesh Prabhu and Uma Mataji, you can just unmute yourselves. Okay, you can continue. Uma Mataji?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, and thank you for giving me this chance to read today. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men, endowed with divine nature.
Tambo darpa viminascha krodaha parusha evacha ajnanam cha vijatsya partha sampadam asuram.
Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, these qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Partha.
Daivi sampat vimokshaya nibandaya suri mata masucha sampadam devim abhijato si pandava.
The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities.
Dvabhuta sargo lokesmin deva asura evacha devo vistaras prokta asuram partames shunu.
O son of Partha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called the divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac.
Pravritim cha nivritim cha chanana vidur asura na socham na pichacharo na satyam te suvidyate.
Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them.
Asatyam prishtam te jagat ahur aniswaram aparaspara sambhutam kim anyet kama haitukam.
They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produce of sex desire and has no cause other than lust.
Etam drishtim avasthapya nastatmano alpabudhyaya prabhavanati ugrakarmana shayya jagato hita.
Following such conclusions, the demoniac, who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world.
Kamam asritya tuspuram dambamana madanvita mohat grit vasat grahan pravartante suchivrita.
Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusion, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent.
Chintam aprimayam cha pralayantam upasrita kamoba kamoba bhoga parama etavad iti nishchita asapasaster baddha kamakrodh parayana ihante kam bhogartham anya anartha sanchayan.
They believe that to gratify the senses is a prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification.
Idam adya maya labdham imam prapsya manoratham idam astidam api me bhavishyate punardhanam asau maya hata strur hanyase chaparan api ishvaro aham bhogi siddho aham balavan sukhi adyo bijanavan asmi konyo asti sadroso maya yakshe tasyami modisya iti ajnana vimohita.
The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I'm the Lord of everything. I'm the enjoyer. I'm perfect, powerful, and happy. I'm the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance.
Anekachit vibranta mohajal samvrita prasat prasakta kama bhogeshu patanti narkesu cha.
Thus, perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell.
Atma sambhavita stapta dhana dhanamana madanvita yajante nam yagneste dambena vidhi purvakam.
Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations.
Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam cha samsrita mam atma paradeheshu pratvisanto abhyak abhyasuk abhyasuyakta suyakaha.
Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion.
Tan aham dvisata kruran samsareshu narathaman shipami ajasaram asuhan asurasya eva yonisha.
Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are perpetually cast in the ocean of material existence into various demoniac species of life.
Asuram yonim apana mujjanam janmani janmani apraprayaikonteya tato yanti adhamam gatim.
Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life. O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence.
Trividam narkasya yadam dwaram nasnam atmana kamakrodhas tatlobhas tasmad etatrayam tayajet.
There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, and for they lead to the degradation of the soul.
Eter vimukta konteya tamodvares tribir nara acharati atmana shreyas tato yati param gatim.
The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains a supreme destination.
Yasastra vidim utsrijya vartate kamakarataha nasa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim.
He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination.
Tasmashastram pramanam te karya vyavastito gnatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartum iharhasi.
One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulation, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Hare Krishna, and please forgive me if I've made any mistake.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your patient listening and for all the mistakes I've done.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. It was the first time you are doing 16th chapter. So you did very well because there was some quite long in the sense that there were so many verses together. So reciting all of them together can sometimes be a bit challenging, but you did very well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Uma Mataji also. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Mataji.
Thank you. Okay, so before we start the 16th chapter, because that verse is so long, we'll do the Mangalacharan prayers before we go on to the verse and the translation and purport. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatriyubhascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Okay, I will just share the screen for. Okay, so you can see the verse. I have not put it on the slide today because the purport is so long that it would have taken a couple of slides for this. And what we are going to do is we won't read the entire purport today because it is very, very long. So we'll leave that for tomorrow. So this chapter is entitled The Divine and the Demoniac Nature. And the first 3 verses are describing the divine nature. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Abhayam Sattva Samsudhir Jnana Yoga Vyavashiti Danam Damascha Yajnascha Swadhayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodhas Tyaga Shantir Apaishunam Daya Bhutesh Alolutvam Mardavam Hirir Achapalam Teja Shama Dhriti Shaucham Adraho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Purport. Does anybody want to read the purport? We could do 1 paragraph each person.
Yes,
But we have to be a little,
Mataji, shall I do
we have to
one?
be a little quick because the purport is really long. So yes, Jolly Mataji, please start.
Yeah. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter also, the devas are godly, and the aruras, the ungodly, or demons, were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation, and such activities are known as Devi Prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In this 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, and the demonic nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Jolly Mataji. Anybody else? Second paragraph, please.
Can I read?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. The word abhijatasya, in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in the godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as Garbhadan Samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for the social life of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also that before that sex life for begetting good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned, provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and a mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Somebody else?
Shall I read?
I don't know who
Sorry.
said, but whoever, please go.
Bhagwati can read.
Bhagwati Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. The social institution known as Varna Ashrama Dharma, the institution dividing society into 4 divisions of social life and 4 occupational divisions or castes, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberated from the material world.
Thank you. There was somebody else with Bhagwati Mataji, some other voice.
Shall I read, Mataji?
Yes, please.
In the Varnashram Institute, the sannyasi or the person in the renounced order of life is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social status and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But the sannyasi, who is on the top of the institution, is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness, because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks, after I leave my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized aspect as Paramatma is always within, and that he is seeing everything, and he also knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest region of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to read?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, please.
Then he has to purify his existence. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They were advised to bow down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it is a stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connection with women. One has to follow the rules and regulations of a particular status of life in order to purify his existence. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possessions of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyas order of life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, namely Chota Haridas, was associated with Lord Chaitanya along with his other confidential personal associates. But somehow or other, this Chota Haridas looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associates. Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead, for him, looking towards material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking towards them with such a propensity, is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. So these are the processes for purification. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe another paragraph, somebody? Any volunteers?
I
If
can
I
give it a go.
I can read.
Please, Rajesh Prabhu.
The next item in Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Sannyasi life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood, but this does not mean that he's a beggar. Humility is also another qualification of transcendentally situated person, and out of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he's actually advanced and so ordered by a spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi or one in the renounced order of life must be situated in fearlessness, sattva samsuddhi, purity, and jnana yoga, knowledge.
Thank you very much. We will stop here. I must make a note of this. We'll stop at this paragraph. The purport is really, really long. I had thought we'll cover a few more paragraphs, but it's going to be a lot. So we'll just stop here. I forgot where we stopped. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And so let's look at what we want to discuss today. Okay, everybody can see the slide?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so so first let's just look at, because I'm doing the 16th chapter first today, otherwise normally Mukundhari Prabhu very kindly would give us a chapter summary. So in brief, the chapter summary is verses 1 to 3 is talking about the Devi Sampada, that is the divine qualities. Sampada meaning the nature or the qualities. And verses 4 to 8 is talking about the Asura Sampada, which is the demoniac qualities. Verses 10 to 20 is activities of the demoniac people and the consequences. And then the last few verses, 20 to 24, is giving up demoniac tendencies and following the scriptures. So first thing, in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about how in the 15th chapter, I know we've done the 15th chapter earlier, but I'm sure everybody remembers the first verse of the 15th chapter where the banyan tree is being described, the inverted banyan tree. And as you can see the picture over here, that the leaves are down, the branches and leaves are down, and the roots are up. So in that chapter, Krishna was describing this banyan tree and how all of us are entangled. But now he's beginning to describe the fruits on that tree. And there are two varieties of fruits. That's the good fruits, that's the divine qualities, and the bad fruits, right? So the divine qualities cause liberation, and the demoniac qualities will cause bondage. Now, the thing is, what we need to understand is that now that we have been given the privilege of being in a human body, so what is it? What differentiates us from the lower species of living entities? And we've discussed this many times. What differentiates us in a human body is the intelligence to question, intelligence to inquire about divine subjects, to find out about what is this life? Why am I here? Who is God? What is my relation with God? So these are the questions that the animals cannot ask because they don't have that kind of intelligence. And the human being has been given this intelligence, and the essential and only purpose of human life is to ask these questions. And that is why in the Brahma Sutra it says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So start with asking these questions. Jigyasa is inquisitiveness, questions, ask these questions. And by asking these questions and then developing the divine qualities, we will move up on this tree and eventually will be able to get disentangled from the tree and then move on to the higher realms, which is our goal, which is Goloka Vrindavan. So that is our final destination. So in chapter 14, I'm not sure if you all remember, but I'm sure you probably would because you've been reciting these verses. In chapter 14, verse 21, Arjuna is asking Krishna, by what symptoms, you remember in chapter 14, we're talking about the modes of material nature and how a person who is in the mode of goodness. So the question asked is, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these modes? How does he behave? And now in this chapter, Krishna is actually giving the answers. So he is explaining how a person who has got these divine qualities or transcendental qualities behaves. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, before that, there is one paragraph which Prabhupada is talking about, which I thought was very important, the second paragraph. In the second paragraph, Prabhupada says, the word abhijatasya is in reference to one who is born with transcendental qualities or with godly qualities. Now, you know, we talk about somebody who's got a godly disposition, has these qualities since birth. Even when we were reciting the verses of the 16th chapter, Krishna says to Arjuna, you don't have to worry because you have these qualities since birth. So then we talk about the nature of a person, you know, like we talk about that this person innately is like this. This is his nature. These are his likes and dislikes. This is his psychophysical nature. We talk about these things. So some things have come from birth. But then there's also another factor, which is the nurturing. How he's been brought up, what kind of values he's been given, what is the environment that he's living in. There are so many factors that influence a person's his growth and what he becomes. And overall then, we still have our free will. So as an example, if you think that, I don't know if anybody has encountered this, in my family, I have, but a slightly different example. But when you look at identical twins also, they may be identical twins, exactly the same and everything, but you will see that eventually, because of whatever reasons, may not display in their immediate childhood, and these things may not manifest at that time. But when they start growing up and teenagers and adults, you will see that there are some differences in their in the way they are, and that's because of not just you can say that the influences were the same because they were born of the same parents, brought up in the same way, same kind of environment, but then there was the individual choices that one makes. So here Prabhupada is talking about how one can then think of begetting a child with godly qualities. And he's talking about the Garbhadan Sanskaras. Now, obviously the Garbhadan Sanskaras is a topic by itself. We won't go too much into it, but the point is that if the parents, if they purify their consciousness, and if they, then if that is an effort that they make. And like Prabhupada in the purport says that sex life for begetting a child is Krishna himself. So if that is the consciousness, then they will attract a soul, a pure-hearted soul. And so the already, right from the beginning, the journey of this soul is already auspicious, because it is, this soul is entering the womb of a Krishna conscious mother, will be born in a Krishna conscious family. So it's so important to understand this aspect that by performing these sanskaras, by having this kind of consciousness, and like Prabhupada very strongly says that at least those who are in Krishna consciousness should not beget children like cats and dogs, and also have sense control when it comes to sex. That should be only for begetting Krishna conscious children. So this was a very important point, that how one can attract a pure-hearted soul if we are in the right consciousness, right? Okay. Now this verse actually is just listing all the divine qualities, but it's very interesting to have a clear understanding of these qualities as well, although they are quite straightforward actually. So let's look at them. So the first quality that Prabhupada is talking about is abhayam. Now, before that, obviously, in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about the varnashram dharma. And this aspect, it has been explained in the Bhagavad Gita many times. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasha. So the varnas are created according to the gunas. It is not according to your birth that you are a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or a Shudra. No. Very clearly, Krishna says that it is based on your psychophysical nature, or what kind of qualities you possess, what kind of work you do. It's based on that. Obviously, it has been taken completely out of context for centuries now, and it'll take another, God knows how long, for people to change their mindset. But why this aspect is being brought here in this particular purport is to explain to us, Prabhupada is explaining to us that these are the qualities of a person who has these divine qualities, who is a devotee, who is transcendental by nature. And these qualities, there is a list of 26 qualities, and one should possess, anybody could possess these qualities, whether he is a householder or a brahmachari or a sannyasi. But there are some qualities which are displayed more by one particular class of the society than the other. And in case of abhayam, Prabhupada very clearly in his purport is talking about abhayam and how this fearlessness is a qualification that a sannyasi must have. Now, again, what is important to understand over here is that we are talking about abhayam. Abhayam does not mean that you have no fear. Abhayam means that you have complete faith in the higher power. It doesn't mean that you are not intelligent enough to understand that you probably are in danger. You know that, but you also, because of your complete dependence on Krishna, you also know that Krishna is there for you. He's always with me. Krishna is the super soul. He is in my heart and he's with me. And that is why anything that happens to me will be the right thing, because that is what Krishna has planned for me. That is the abhayam that we are talking about. I have a picture of a thief here, which is quite obvious, I think. The reason why I put this picture is because he also displays fearlessness. He has, and his fearlessness is, I don't care. You know, I know it's wrong and I know I may get caught, but I don't care. That also is fearlessness. But the fearlessness that we are talking about here is that fearlessness which comes from complete dependence on Krishna. And then why we are talking that it is a qualification for sannyasis? Because if a sannyasi previously and even now, previously, of course, the sannyasis would travel to the forest and jungles and, alone to perform various austerities. And if even a mere thought of thinking that, how will I survive in the jungle? What will I eat? What if there are animals there? If that kind of thought or fear comes in somebody's mind, then he is not ready to take sannyas. Prabhupada says that in his purport, actually. So having this complete dependence on Krishna and knowing that wherever I may be, in whatever condition I may be, Krishna will look after me. When you think about it and when you talk about abhayam or fearlessness, it seems very simple, but it actually is not that simple, because so many of us also, there are, like even in our spiritual life, even to make various commitments, we have this fear. Will I be able to do this? Should I be making these commitments? So even these little steps, we have fear. So here, for what Prabhupada is talking about is a very, very important quality. So that is why he's talking about that sannyasis should develop this quality of fearlessness. And I have the picture here of Prahlad Maharaj, which I'm sure all of you have understood. Even when his father was trying to kill him in so many different ways, he never displayed any fear. The reason being that he was completely absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, and he completely was dependent on Krishna's mercy. In a mundane and materialistic way, we can see this bit of fearlessness in a good way. When you have people who are so devoted to their countries, and when they join the armed forces, or when they, even police for that matter, like in today's circumstances, we can call our nurses and doctors abhayam, because they are performing their duty without fear. It is a very, very fearful situation for all of us, but they're still doing this out of, fear. But that is not the higher cause, because that is out of love for your responsibility, your duty, or your country. The highest cause is when you are completely absorbed in Krishna. And then that fearlessness that you develop, that is what we have to aspire to develop. Right, okay. That's abhayam. And the next one that Prabhupada talks about is sattva samsudhir. Now, sattva samsudhir is purification of one's existence. Now, purification is there are so many rules and regulations that one has to follow. And especially for sannyasis, and I think Hema Mataji was reading that paragraph about how a sannyasi has to be so very careful in how his behavior, in his control, and he should not interact with female. And then Prabhupada gives the example of Lord Chaitanya, who was such a great example of a sannyasi, where he talks about when he was in Jagannath Puri, the female devotees could not even go close to him to pay obeisances. They had to do it from very far. And I won't go into the detail, but we all heard the story of Chota Haridas. It's Prabhupada has not given the full story, but I think many of us already know what happened. And in brief, he has explained that Chota Haridas, he just looked lustily on a young woman. Like he didn't even kind of, think anything about it. And even then, Mahaprabhu was so very strict with him. And also in the purport, it is being explained that this is not something that's against a female or what, but these are the rules that a brahmachari and a sannyasi should follow, because you have to control your senses, and that's why you have to follow these rules and regulations. So that's Sattva Samsiddhir. Please let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow, or these are, quite actually straightforward, but okay. The next one is Jnana Yoga Vyavashiti. Now this is cultivation and dissemination of knowledge. It is a sannyasi and a brahmachari, they take on this responsibility of cultivating knowledge. But not just cultivating knowledge, then distributing that knowledge to the grihasthas. Now, as you can see, material life is endlessly entangling. There is something or the other that keeps entangling you. And I'm sure we must have all experienced that, we always keep thinking that I am just waiting for this phase of my life to get over so that then I can focus on my spiritual life. And then when that gets over, then you think, there's just this one important task that I need to do. And once that is finished, then I will focus on my spiritual life. And so as a grihastha, as householders, we've got so many responsibilities and duties that one has to fulfill, and which is important. But at the same time, one cannot totally neglect the spiritual aspect. And herein, it is the sannyasis who are able to pull us out of this. When they come door to door, they don't come to beg, they don't need anything. It is out of their complete humility and compassion that they come door to door, so that they don't come to take, they come to give, so that they can give us some spiritual knowledge, so that they can give us some association. And as grihastha, being completely entangled always in material life, even that little moment of association with a sadhu can open your eyes to think that, spiritual life is also important, spiritual knowledge is also important, so let me devote some time to that. So that's Jnana Yoga Vyavashiti. And then we talk about Danam, charity. Now again, all of us clearly know about charity, and we know that yes, charity is something that we all should do, and it's great, that charity is being done. But think about this, and I'm not sure if you all have experienced it, but what happens is that, again, when it comes to charity, one thinks that I will do it when I have a lot, because right now I just have enough to kind of live a normal life, so I'll do it when I have enough. The point about charity is that it is a mentality, it is a habit that one has to develop. You don't have to wait for whether it is enough or not enough, because there is no there's no figure to a charity. There's no like a level that you can only do this or you can only do that much. Of course, if you have a lot, you can give a lot, but even a little bit, because that is what will help to purify the householders. Now, charity is mainly meant for the householders, because obviously the sannyasis and brahmacharis don't have anything to give, except for, of course, their charity is sharing the knowledge. But as householders, it is the responsibility of grihasthas and householders to give charity to sannyasis, to temples, to various other places. And if I'm not mistaken, Prabhupada actually, probably not in this paragraph, but in many places, Prabhupada talks about how a householder should actually give 50% of what he earns as charity. I know it's difficult, but that is what Prabhupada recommends, that one should give 50% of what he earns in charity. And I've heard in some classes that if a person is, let's say, a millionaire and he gives £100 a month, for him, that £100 is actually nothing. You know, charity is where you can actually feel the pinch, because then it shows that it is so important for you that no matter what, you will still do it. So for a millionaire to give £100 is nothing. But for somebody who earns probably £1,000 a month, for that person to give £100 is a lot. And the heart of the person who's earning only £1,000 will get purified more, because he is taking away something from what he actually probably needs and then giving in charity. So like I said, simple thing, charity, but it's very deep to understand that one has to develop a mentality and a habit of giving charity. One can't just say that I will give it when I have it, because that then doesn't happen. Right, okay. The next one is Dhamma, or self-control. Now, self-control, of course, we have spoken about how the sannyasis and the brahmacharis, you know, they have to be self-controlled. So it's meant for them, but it's also meant very importantly for householders. And in many lectures and classes, Prabhupada talks about this. What he talks about is that see, the thing is, in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna consciousness and Krishna is talking about how sex is not prohibited. So marriage is not prohibited, provided that you use this partnership, you use this marriage to grow in spirituality. So if you and your partner, if you and your husband or wife or whatever, you know, are working towards spiritual progress, it's like two souls on a journey together, both helping each other. And that is why if you don't have self-control, if you don't realize what marriage is for, and if one thinks that marriage is only to enjoy, then that obviously is going to make you go downhill. And that's why you need to perform, you need to be aware of self-control, and you should, you know, it says here that if anyone, even if he's a householder, wants to progress in spiritual life, he must control his sex life. So Prabhupada is talking about that, and that's the self-control that we're talking about here. Right, okay. I am conscious of the time. Next. So then the next quality that is being spoken about is yajna, that's sacrifice. Now, we've heard, I think, in many classes about the various kinds of sacrifices that were being performed in the other yugas, right? Fire sacrifice and, you know, opulent deity worship and all kinds of sacrifice. For this yug, Kali Yuga, there is only and only one yajna that we have to perform, which has been recommended by Mahaprabhu and by all our acharyas, and that is the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the holy names. And here Prabhupada says, this Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adopt it and derive benefit. So the reason what he's saying is that in the Vedic literature, you know, they talk about the Agnihotra sacrifices and various sacrifices, but in this day and age, one cannot. There are limitations for money, there are limitations for the correct brahmanas who can recite all these Vedic hymns properly. So there are lots of limitations, but to perform the Sankirtan Yajna, there is no limitation, and anyone and everyone can do it. There is no cost, there is no qualification needed, there is nothing needed. The only thing that's needed is love and faith in the holy name, and then everyone can do it. So that's what Prabhupada is talking about here. We just have 2 more because I'm going to stop at 8 because we'll do the rest tomorrow. So the next one is Swadhyay. So Swadhyay, as you can see, it's study of the literatures, Vedic literatures. It's Swadhyay means actually study. But here we are talking about study of Vedic literatures, which is specially meant for brahmachari. Because when a person in a householder life, of course, he should also study and everybody should study, but the kind of time that he can devote to studying will not be the same that a brahmachari can do, because he has renounced everything else. He does not have any other responsibilities or duties that he needs to fulfill towards a family or anything. So, and brahmachari means student life. Brahmachari means student. So student means studying. So it's the responsibility of a brahmachari to study the scriptures. And then even if the brahmachari decides to then become a grihastha, but because he has the knowledge and he has understood these things, he will not get entangled in material life. And that is why in the Vedic times, from the age of 5 to 25 was considered that you should be a brahmachari, where you then absorb all this knowledge. And then when you move on to the other part of your life, the other ashram, you become a grihastha. But because you've got this knowledge, so how you lead your grihastha life will also be as per the Vedic rules and regulations. And that way, you will still progress in your spiritual life and you will make progress towards Krishna. So yes, brahmachari is Swadhyaya is for brahmacharis to study the Vedic scriptures and to understand what is the purpose of life. And the last one is tapas, that is austerity. Now, Prabhupada is talking about austerity, and he is saying that austerity is mainly recommended for people who are in the vanaprastha stage of their life. That is, that they are in the stage where they have finished their responsibilities and they are now retiring from material duties and responsibilities. Because like we discussed, when one is a grihastha, you do have so many duties and you cannot give up on that, and Krishna or Prabhupada or none of our acharyas are recommending that you give up on anything. But there comes a stage in life where then you should think that I have fulfilled all my responsibilities. Now is the stage for me to kind of take a step back, slow down in the material life and focus on my spiritual life. Now, in Vedic times, it was recommended that when a man is 50 years of age, at that time, he should try and retire from his family life, move to the forest, and meet with sadhus and learn about spirituality from him. Now, in today's day and age, we cannot do that. A, we don't have as many forests as we used to, and B, the sadhus don't want to be in the forest, because at least in Prabhupada has taught all of us and our movement that we don't want to just do things for ourselves. The compassion is when you spread the message everywhere. So we find our sadhus in temples. So then when you reach that age, then you try and devote more of your time to activities at the temple, to performing more devotional services, to giving more time to doing any kind of service at the temple, studying the scriptures, interacting with the various sannyasis and brahmacharis and other learned devotees that we have at the temple. So this is what tapas and austerity means for the vanaprastha. And in one of his lectures, Prabhupada actually says that if you want to cure your disease, then you must follow some austerities, some rules and regulations. If a person has diarrhea and he is allowed to eat whatever he wants, then he is never going to be cured. So he needs to fast for a few days. So like that, we all are diseased. Because we are diseased, we are in this cycle of birth and death. And unless we perform some kind of austerities, and unless we take to the spiritual path, we will not be able to cure ourselves. So Prabhupada in one of his lectures says that, and I am going to stop here. And I don't know how many of you grew up in India in the 80s and 90s. I did, and you know what, it's just come to my mind this morning, and I found it quite amusing. So I'm going to share it here. When I was growing up, there used to be this Hindi TV soap on TV. I think it was every day. And it was called Hum Log. I don't know if any of you have grown up there, you'll probably remember.
Yes, Mataji, I remember.
You do? So when this thing used to get over, and obviously, there's always something exciting going to happen. So they would say, so the ending would be in Hindi. If people don't understand, I'll translate later. But in Hindi, they used to say, "Ab aage kya hoga ye hum kal dekh." They said, "Ye dekhenge kal hum log." So I'm going to say the same, that there is a lot more to discuss in this particular verse. It's quite long. So we will continue tomorrow, and we will discuss the remaining of the divine qualities, and we'll read the purport also from where we left off. But for today, if there are any comments, questions, corrections, please feel free. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari, such a wonderful class. And with such a conviction and systematically, you have really expressed very well your understanding, and you gave us the understanding. So it's wonderful. Well done. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Palika Mataji. Not my understanding. I'm just taking from somewhere and delivering here. I'm just the postman.
Yeah, but you had to deliver in the right way. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Any other questions on this? It was quite a straightforward thing, actually. So,
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari Mataji, my humble obeisances. Your classes are always so nice, so clear, very clear concept. Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
My question, though I know it a little bit, but my question is, in India, I don't know if it's now prevalent now, but in India, marrying a daughter or marrying a woman is very much kind of punya. So they it's not recommended that women stay unmarried and study the Vedas or whatever. So they can't become sannyasi. Why is that, do you think? I mean, one thing is that because long time ago men could, because they are physically strong, men could go out in the forest and do all the austerities. Women are not physically so strong, they can't be.
No, but even in Krishna consciousness, even in ISKCON, Prabhupada never recommended that women should become a sannyasi or should become a renunciate if it can be tried, because Prabhupada said that a female should always be under the shelter of a man. He said that when she's young, she's under the shelter of her father. When she grows up, she is with her husband. And when she's older, if her husband in Vedic times, if he would leave Vanapras, then she would be with her son. Now, there are various reasons for it. We have to understand that not just the physical aspect, but emotionally, a female is very different to a man. And sometimes the man can take decisions very, very practically. And you will see it even in your day-to-day life. We don't even have to go too far to look at it. You can see it even in your day-to-day life, that a female gets very emotionally involved with everything. And then at times, you don't get the, when you talk about the bird's eye view or an outsider's view at a problem and take a decision like that, the female is many a times unable to do that because she's so emotionally involved. And that is one of the reasons why, because see, becoming a renunciate is not easy at all. It is quite an austerity, and I'm not saying that a female can't do it. We have got lots of brahmacharinis in our ashram at ISKCON, and But ideally, Prabhupada recommended that uh, if wherever possible, one should get married and be with her husband and then progress on the spiritual path. Of course, if there are circumstances and things change and whatever else, but Vedic times as well as now, this is what is recommended because, like I said, a female, she's not weak in that sense, but because she is so much more emotional, some of the decisions that she might take will not be based on the practicalities, but it'll be based more on her emotions, and then it could be wrong decisions.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Any questions? I hope
Hare
that.
Krishna Mataji. Sorry.
Yes, no, so it's okay, Jolie.
Somebody want to?
I was wondering if somebody wants to add to what I have said, if there's anything more, if somebody wants to add. If not, then yeah, Jolie Mataji, you can continue.
Yes, I'm a little bit confused about the qualities of the different class of society and the expectation that Srila Prabhupada puts down on some qualities we should focus on. And there was a mention about one. He said we shouldn't beget children like cats and dogs. Well,
Yes.
that's one society, and is part of the what shall I say, the Maya in us, isn't it? We come with this kind of karma and we have to outlive it. So I'm thinking, and Prabhupada himself placed high focus on compassion to these group of people. So how is it that we need to think about being on the higher performing at a higher quality in a better class? Because if we all are in that place, how are we going to be able to show this kind of help and compassion and charity? And so society is made up of all these corners, aren't they? And so we just have to accept it and try the best we can. I'm not sure how that fits with it.
So,
Sorry.
Mataji, if I understand,
I hope it's not a silly question.
No,
but
no. But if I understand correctly, obviously there are lots of aspects to your question, but I will just answer based on what Prabhupada used to say and what I've heard in his classes. What he said, and in the Bhagavatam it says, and so many places it says that one should not become a guru, one should not become a mother, one should not become a father if you cannot deliver your child from this cycle of birth and death. It says that. And what Prabhupada says, and in fact, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is a sannyasi, a Naishtika sannyasi, meaning he was a brahmachari, he was a sannyasi and whatever, he said that if I could make the children, all my children, Krishna conscious, then I wouldn't mind having 100 children. You see, so the point, what Prabhupada is trying to make here is, it's not about the number of children that you have. It is about the quality of what are you going to give to that child? Are you able to make that child Krishna conscious and take him out of this cycle of birth and death? If yes, then you can have as many children as you want. So it's not really about the number of children, it is about what you can give to that child. But if you cannot do that,
that's the bit
Yes, that's what it is.
That's the bit I'm struggling with, because some people are living in ignorance, aren't they?
Yes.
And so they don't know any better, and they're caught up in this kind of that, so they don't know how to climb out of it. It's something that I experienced in life. So yeah, that's where we have to place the ones that have got goodness to help them to come out and to support them, obviously. But
but that's what Prabhupada says. He's talking about that at least people who are Krishna conscious and understand this thing should not behave like that. Obviously, before we have the understanding, then we don't know any better. But at least once, if somebody is in Krishna consciousness, then he knows this. And at the end of the day, Jolie Mataji, we always have to remember that every soul's journey actually is predestined by the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
That is eventually going to happen. But what Prabhupada is trying to say in his purport is that once we come to Krishna consciousness, at least, then we need to start understanding things better.
Mm.
And then
And the statement you said about whatever condition one may end up in, or whatever behavior they portray, Krishna will take care of you.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's a journey. We all are on this journey, and Krishna is looking after each and every one of us in the best way that is suitable to us. Like for an example, like let's just take this very mundane example that you and me both have gone to the hospital and we both have got flu, right? And the doctor decides to give me a tablet and decides to give you an injection. Now, I am going to be stupid if I'm saying to the doctor, why are you giving her an injection and why are you just giving me a tablet? But he's going to turn around and say that for her situation, she needs the injection. For you, you just need the tablet. So Krishna is deciding for each of our situations what is needed to cure us. We all are in this hospital together. And he is deciding what is needed to cure us, what atmosphere I'm going to put this soul into, what is the external factors that he needs to come out of this. So ultimately, we are puppets and Krishna is holding the strings for all of us. So
I like that bit that you just explained. That really fits well with my queries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
No
Hare
problem.
Krishna.
Any other questions or queries from anybody? No, it's 9. Okay. If there are no questions, then we will stop here. And like I said, we shall meet tomorrow and continue with this verse. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining, all of you. Please keep safe under the
Thank you,
circumstances.
Mataji. Your answers
Thank
are also very
you.
precise and very perfect.
Wonderful
Questions.
questions.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna. Hare
Mataji.
Krishna,
Thank you,
Mataji. Wonderful
everybody.
class.
Thank you,
Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare
A
Krishna,
wonderful
Mataji. Thank
class.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Just wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful.